Good morning, Mets fans. Happy Monday and welcome to Driving with Mr. Met. I am Mr. Met, and it is the Monday before Thanksgiving. Yes, we are all prepared to stuff ourselves, but I'm not here to talk about that today. I'm here to talk about the Mets and a couple of news items that appeared over the weekend. I'm not even sure I can call them news items, but they are certainly worth talking about and pondering and debating and maybe worrying over. And I'll talk about what the big news / rumor is on today's show. I realized I didn't point out the fact that I actually have a new hat on my dashboard. My original World Series 2015 hat got a little too faded from sitting out in the sun for the last 2 years or more. So I've retired it and replaced it with yet another 2015 World Series hat. On the dash to kick off the show, this is, as I said, this is Thanksgiving week, and this will probably be the only video I'm able to record this week. My daughter's having a little surgery tomorrow and having her tonsils removed, so I will more than likely not be available to record any videos until after Thanksgiving, but that's okay. Sort of not really thinking about this in particular, but thinking in advance. There have been some weeks when I haven't been able to record a video, but I've had some thoughts and whatnot. So I've decided to start a tiny little blog and incorporate my thoughts on days when I can't post a video. So I'll put the video or the blog address on the screen here and in the description below. So bookmark it. I'll also try to tweet out when I have a new blog post so that you guys can follow that if you'd like. I actually posted my first non-video related blog post. I will also be sort of simul-posting the videos from YouTube on the blog as well. But my first non-video post was about Michael Wilbon and his just continual stupidity as it pertains to Jacob deGrom and him and winning the Cy Young. And he just this guy refuses to admit that he's wrong and you know, basically join 2018. So I had to rail on him a little bit. But yeah, that's up there in black and white, if you will, and it'll be a nice accompaniment to the videos. But back to the videos for today. On Friday, I think it was, or perhaps Saturday, there was a strong suggestion that the San Diego Padres were going to be making a heavy and hard bid on Noah Syndergaard. Now, as we know, last summer, the Padres were very interested in trading with the Mets for Syndergaard. San Diego is in desperate need of a reliable starting pitcher, young, controllable, etc. And they've got Syndergaard at the top of their wish list. And that's great for them that they want Noah Syndergaard. But you know, my first thought was no, absolutely not. Like, immediately I thought no. Then I started thinking about it a little bit more, and then I'm like, well, look, I mean, if it's possible to get back legitimate major league caliber players and not prospects with, quote, a high ceiling and big upside and whatever, then maybe I would consider it. And I started thinking back again and be like, but no, how hard has it been to develop how hard is it to develop a pitching staff with guys that can go deep into games? And who was tied for the major league lead in, excuse me, in complete games last year? Granted, it was only 2, but Noah Syndergaard, he had 2 complete games last year. As I'm thinking more and more about it, I'm 100% now opposed to trading Noah Syndergaard to anybody. I want the Mets to build around this pitching staff, which more than any year before, 2018 really came into its own as a group, where sort of everybody took a step in the right direction in the same season. There weren't any injuries that mired anyone's progress. There weren't any major setbacks, although you could argue that Steven Matz underperformed. But he still pitched a complete season. He still improved. He got stronger as the season went on. We don't have to say anything about what Zach Wheeler did last year. He was superb. Noah Syndergaard, despite being injured for a good bit of the season last year, still ended up pitching really, really well. He led the team in wins. I think he led the team in wins. I might be wrong. He had a really good ERA, just a tad over 3. Finished the season super strong, had those 2 complete games down the stretch. One of them was a shutout. So, and you know, Jacob deGrom is the best pitcher in the world. So the Mets have an opportunity here, and rather than squander it in a trade with the Padres for Fernando Tatis Jr., who, despite the accolades, and you know, he's certainly one of the higher level prospects that have been talked about in all of baseball, but rather than really taking that risk, and it is a risk because the guy is not proven, he's not done anything at the major league level. I would much rather the Mets hold on to Syndergaard. I'd much rather them keep that piece close to the vest, and if they're going to move him at the trade deadline, where a team that is desperate for starting pitching will be willing to give up more to get him, as opposed to in the offseason when there's really no desperation there. You know, that's the only way it makes sense to me is if the Mets are out of contention next year, you know, 2019, at the trade deadline, and then you decide, you know what, we've gone for it again, it's not working, let's break this thing down and let's try to capitalize in some way on this pitching staff. That's the only way that I think it makes sense to consider a trade involving Noah Syndergaard. Anything other than that, certainly not this offseason at all. I don't want to see that explored at all. I want the Mets to be creative with free agent signings. I want them to be smart with tendering and non-tendering. And I want them to be smart with filling and rebuilding this bullpen. That's, again, I've said this like a million times. If the Mets address the bullpen, if they can fix the bullpen, and that's easier said than done. Because look, this is not a New York Mets problem. This is a Major League Baseball problem. Bullpens are impossible. You get really lucky with a bullpen that's really good. That's it. I mean, there's not a whole hell of a lot of skill involved in building a great bullpen. A guy who's fantastic one year can be crap the next year. And then he can turn around after that crap year and be great again. There's just no way outside of a small select percentage, 3-4% of all bullpen arms, who you could really count on year after year after year to give you that high level performance all the time. And most of those folks are in the closing role. So they aren't likely to hit free agency. They aren't likely to be non-tendered by a team. They're going to get locked up in a contract of some sort. So it's a complete crapshoot. But that's where I want the Mets to invest their time. I was listening to the first part of Mike Silva's podcast from yesterday, and I was listening to that this morning, and I really like what he said about how the Mets should approach this offseason. And he said this before, but he's talked about, quote, winning the offseason, you know, winning the winter, getting that back page splash to boost your whatever visibility, to sign a guy like Manny Machado, which, I mean, sounds awesome on paper, but it addresses one need and ignores all the others. And I would rather the Mets go about their business of addressing all of their needs as creatively as possible, not spending all of their funds on one area, like a Manny Machado or a Bryce Harper would cost, and building a team that's going to win the regular season. I could give a shit about the offseason. I don't care if the Mets get good press. Once again, Moneyball, Billy Beane says, quote, "The fans do not run my team." And, you know, that's it. That's what this whole nonsense about winning the offseason is about. It's about satiating the fans, giving the fans something cool to read and a headline to tweet about. You know, that's great, but personally, I'd rather win the regular season and lose the offseason. I'd rather go into the season a laughingstock and come out and win. So I'm hoping that's what the Mets do this offseason, and I do think that's the approach they're going to take. So we'll have to see how that unfolds over the next couple of weeks. Not a whole lot of other news to talk about really in baseball at all. It's been sort of a slow-moving winter at this point, but I'll stay on top of things. When I'm able, I'll record videos. When I'm not able, I will post on my blogs, so you can follow me there. But above all, you can follow me on Twitter at Mr_Met. That's MISTER_MET. That'll wrap it up for today. I appreciate your watching the video, as I always do. Leave me a comment below if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. Have a very safe and happy Thanksgiving. And as always, let's go Mets.